Maayong buntag, good morning, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. I'm Cito Beltran and you are watching Agenda on Signal TV channels 8 and 250. Today is June 30. Nakailang buwan na tayo? March, April, May, June. Basically 4 months and we are expecting President Rodrigo Duterte to give a statement sometime today regarding the state of affairs as far as COVID-19 and community quarantine is concerned all over the country. Now, for today, we will be speaking with a number of guests. First of them would be Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya, and I will be asking Usec Malaya, what song should we be practicing for or practicing or memorizing? Would it be the I'll see you in September? Which means will we have a better situation sometime September, or will it be I'll be home for Christmas? Because rumor has it that some quarantine passes or rapid lane pass already have a deadline indicating expiration date December 31, 2020. So ganun ba katagal aabutin? Aabutin ba tayong Pasko under community quarantine? We'll find out from Usec Malaya, and then we will be speaking with Mayor Alfred Romualdez. He's a regular on the program, and the reason he's coming on board today is because we're curious to find out the new strategy or the strategy that he adopted in Tacloban, where he didn't spend a lot of money building quarantine facilities. He simply rented certain facilities and actually help tourism. We'll speak with Mayor Alfred Romualdez on that. And then we will also be interviewing former DSWD Secretary Judy Taguiwalo, because if you were following her Facebook post, Twitter, etc., she came out with a scathing assessment of how the government handled COVID-19. And okay, everyone has an opinion, but we'd also like to find out what her suggestions are. But I think the most important thing about former Secretary Judy's statements is that, as we said yesterday, people are asking where's the money or how has the money been spent by government. Okay. And last but not the least, we hope to speak to Undersecretary Benjo Benavidez of the Department of Labor and Employment to find out what the department is thinking, doing, saying about work from home. Kasi nabalitaan po natin, mga kaibigan, na mayroon ng move to somehow make employers share the cost or pay for the cost incurred by working from home. Because most people are saying, oh, sarap mo, you're working from home, but there is actually an added cost. Electricity, equipment, etc., etc. And apparently the Department of Labor has been talking and studying that concern. In the meantime, we will go to the main stories on the front page of the Philippine Star, June 30, 2020. Malacanang disputed the World Health Organization's report saying the Philippines has recently had the fastest increase in COVID-19 cases, while also urging critics to stop politicking while the country is grappling with the pandemic. The palace said that while they are not perfect, President Rodrigo Duterte is doing his best and that the situation is under control. When it comes to the World Health Organization data, the palace said it should report its report should be in relation to population. The health department earlier said that socioeconomic context must be taken into account in presenting such data. Meanwhile, President Duterte is expected to announce his decision on the new quarantine protocols. The government has placed a moratorium on sending home locally stranded individuals or LSIs in 5 areas due to limited quarantine facilities. The moratorium covers Western Visayas, Eastern Visayas, Caraga regions, Cebu Island, and Mactan. National COVID Response Chief Implementer Carlito Galvez Jr. said there are 127,000 names in the list of stranded individuals. On another story, the Philippine Coast Guard launched a search and rescue operation for 14 Filipinos whose boat capsized after it collided with a Hong Kong registered vessel. The incident happened off Occidental Mindoro early Sunday. The 14 Filipinos, mostly fishermen, were on board the FB Liberty 5. It was headed to the Navotas Fishport when it collided with the Hong Kong flagged vessel MV Vienna Woods. Malacanang has said the incident would be governed by Philippine laws. The search and rescue operations were put to a halt last night but is expected to resume this morning. On the POGO front, senators welcomed reports that Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGOs have started to leave the country. Senator Joel Villanueva, who chairs the Committee on Labor and Employment, said it won't be a loss for the Philippines as POGOs have little economic contribution, especially with their unwillingness to pay correct taxes. Villanueva said there was no sense in letting POGOs operate if they violate Philippine laws, as they also do not create jobs for Filipinos. But the senator emphasized that even if these POGOs are leaving, they should pay taxes they owe the country. Otherwise, they should be blacklisted. Senator Frank Drilon agrees while also saying that the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporations or PAGCOR should stop playing a lover to POGOs. And that's the main stories on the front page of the Philippine Star. Now, let's find out. I hope if you have your karaoke códigos, you look up the songs I'll See You in September or I'll Be Home for Christmas, because that's what I want to ask Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya of the DILG if he's already connected. Usec Malaya, good morning to you, sir.
Yes, good morning, Sir Cito, and good morning to all your televiewers.
O, paano ba yan, Usec? Ano ba ang kakantahin namin? I'll see you in September o I'll be home for Christmas?
Well, I think the entire world is waiting for that vaccine. No,
Okay.
the earliest estimates coming from the United States is that the earliest we can have a vaccine is around the first quarter of next year, because the trials have started already. So realistically, I think we're all dependent on this development on the medical front, because as you
Yeah.
very well know, wala namang gamot ito. So until such time that we have a vaccine, all we can do is to just abide by the new normal, which the entire world has to contend with.
I think you said the magic word until there is a vaccine, because based on the pronouncements and my sources who are experts in the pharma industry, they have basically said, Cito, 2021, maybe. But in any case, matanong ko lang, Yusek, kasi baka naman haka-haka lang to, baka chismis, mabuti na yung kino-confirm sa inyo, no? May nagsabi kasi sa akin na nag-apply sila ng Rapid Lane Pass para dun sa mga nagdadala ng pagkain, mga agricultural products, etc. And of course, frontliners, So napansin daw nila doon sa Rapid Pass, which
Mhm.
all carry expiration dates, nakasulat daw December 31, 2020 ang expiration. So it just basically tells them, looks like community quarantine, not COVID-19, community quarantine is presumably still going to be in place up to December 2020, if not beyond.
First and foremost, that's also news to me because I don't use the Rapid Pass, so I don't really know. No,
Okay.
that's under the DICT. They're the ones that issue the Rapid Pass. Pero sir,
Mhm.
so, I think that's also, if it's true, no, if it's true,
Mhm.
that's also a result of the expiration, for example, of the IATF IDs, because
Mm.
we really expected that by this time, tapos na yung problema, that the pandemic is over, that we don't have this problem anymore. So the IATF IDs had an expiration this June. And
Mm.
even the Bayanihan Act, when we were discussing that with Congress, napag-usapan lang doon 2 buwan, 3 buwan. That's why it expired already last June 25. So
Yeah.
siguro yung mga taga DICT, I'm just going on a limb here, no?
Yeah.
They hear the news, they watch the news, and they hear that there's still no vaccine. They
Mm.
decided to extend it so that there will be no more problems about
Mm.
expiration of these passes, just like what happened with the IATF IDs.
Sabagay, makakatipid sila kasi kung print naman sila ng print every so many months, di hanggang December 30 na lang. Kung matapos yung quarantine, no harm, no foul. So, which is
Exactly. Yeah.
a good point. Okay, now, matanong ko, what about those IATF passes? Like me, for instance, although alam mo naman, Usec, matagal na akong nakakulong, hindi pa ako lumalaya. Ano? But I do have a pass, so it's expired. So I have to apply for a new one, or is there automatic renewal or
Well,
extension?
doon sa pagkakakulong ninyo, the Supreme Court has already issued new guidelines para makapag-bail na po kayo. So you just have to apply. Because senior citizens are given, meron pong ang senior citizens, premium sa piyansa. But to answer your question, IATF IDs no longer need to be to reapply. They are
Uh-huh.
automatically extended, and we have already given instructions to the Philippine National Police just to honor all expired IATF IDs.
Okay, now I'm happy na cheerful ka kasi alam mo kanya ako nagpapatawa rin na Usec Jonathan. Marami nang nalulungkot maraming nadidepress ko. So if it's at our expense na natatawa sila, okay lang, no. In any case, on a serious matter, the reason I actually asked that you be invited is you made the pronouncement sometime last week, yung localized
Yes,
quarantines. And granular quarantine kasi parang
right.
sabi ko, ano ba ito? Bumibili ba akong kape? Ano ba itong localized and granular? Paki-explain naman, no?
Actually, it's the same. Granular lang siya kasi if you look at the map, kasi we use the GIS system, the National Task Force on COVID, in monitoring the number of cases, use the um, GIS system. And when we use the GIS system, you can look at a barangay. So you have a provincial look, and then it gives you the view of the localized situation, kaya tinatawag na granular. So it's
Mm.
actually the same, the two are the same. And the localized containment strategy came about because at this time when we have already made a lot of improvements and accomplishment in so far as fighting COVID is concerned, it's no longer cost efficient, nor is it recommended or acceptable if we have a region-wide quarantines, because at this point in time we now need to reopen the economy because
Okay.
our millions of our countrymen are going to lose their
Mm.
jobs if we don't reopen the economy. So given that this is the situation, it's better if we just contain the implementation of the lockdowns rather than implement this on a regional or provincial level, which resulted in what is called as the localized or granular approach.
Okay, now, whose call is it? Kasi in the past month, may mga LGU nagsabi, teka, ECQ pa rin kami. We don't want to go to GCQ. But there are those naman who have been begging, please release me. Now, puro ko kanta this morning. Ewan ko ba kung bakit. But, whose call is it? Is it the call of the IATF, the national government, or regional? May mga, alam ko, may mga regional presidential assistants eh.
Yes. If the LGU is a highly urbanized city or a province, it's the national IATF that makes that decision. Okay.
Okay.
But if it's a component city or a municipality, a barangay, a sitio, a street, a building, it's a local government unit's call. So in the case of a barangay or a sitio or a building, it's the mayor with the concurrence of the regional IATF. In the case of component cities and municipalities, it's now the call of the governor with the concurrence, of course, of the regional IATF.
Okay. Okay. So, if pagla-lockdown, let's say Cebu City, it doesn't necessarily require the permission or the cooperation of the mayor. Basta nagdesisyon yung governor and regional IATF or national, wala nang say yung mayor.
Sir Cito, Cebu City is a highly urbanized city, no? Since it's
Sorry.
HUC, that needs the approval of the national IATF, no?
Okay.
But meron din po kaming proseso sa mga highly urbanized cities and provinces because as you mentioned, meron mga apila. There are appeals that are done by the mayors and governors of these provinces and highly urbanized cities. So, what happens is a few days before the expiration of the current CQ status of a place, we inform the mayor of the highly urbanized city or of the governor of the province that there will be a change in the status of their community quarantine, and we allow them to comment or make an appeal. And then we forward it to the president who makes the final decision. So dati po kasi maalala nyo, Sir Cito, after the declaration of the IATF of the CQ status, eto na ngayon yung mga different LGUs making their appeals. So ang ginawa namin, bago pa i-anunsyo yung IATF yung CQ status, we already gave them the opportunity to comment para kumbaga the appeals process already started prior to the announcement.
Ayun. So unlike before na naghahabol sa bandang huli, ngayon umpisa pa lang, what say you, ano problema nyo, and the decision na wala ng issue. Okay,
That's
now,
right.
matanong ko lang, Usec John, alam mo naman na itong local stranded, medyo malapit sa puso ko yan. Kasi may inaalagaan kaming 8 dito sa kabila, mabuti nakapagtrabaho na sila. But I understand there are hundreds of locally stranded individuals. Doon lang sa Northport Terminal Incorporated, lumalabas na kahapon pa sa media. Ano bang magagawa natin? Kasi ang requirement daw kailangan may swabbing, ganito, ganon. What is the DILG? Is the DILG involved in that? Is that DSWD? Sino bang in charge doon?
Yes. Under the National Task Force COVID, there's a task group, sub-task group on locally stranded individuals. So kasama po kami doon, the ILG is part of it. And ang role namin is to ensure na tatanggapin sila doon sa mga LGUs na pupuntahan nila. Actually, Sir Cito, the policy of government is lahat ng LSIs makauwi. But the problem really are the LGUs. And I do not want to put the blame on them because we also understand where they're coming from, no? There has been reports na some of the LSIs are the ones that are bringing the COVID to the respective provinces, to the provinces. Binabalanse natin yung mga pakiusap nila. For example, yung mga nasa Philippine Army Gym, ang problema sa kanila is many of them are Cebu Pacific, for example, ticket holders whose flights were canceled because of the decision of the LGUs to stop the flights. And hanggang ngayon po kasi, Sir Cito, ang mga flights natin, for example, to Zamboanga or Jensan or even in Davao are still limited. We do not have daily flights. And many of these flights are already full. And ang ginagawa namin, we talk to Cebu Pacific and we ask them about the status of those Cebu Pacific ticket holders, and they give us the number, and then we request the LGU na pagbigyan na makauwi and to allow a extra flight. So this is what happened, for example, with Zamboanga City, because there are 200 Cebu Pacific ticket holders whose flights were canceled. So nakiusap ang Cebu Pacific na kung pwedeng makapag-mount ng extra flight going to Zamboanga, and we relayed this to Zamboanga at pumayag naman yung Zamboanga, and this afternoon there will be an extra flight going to Zamboanga. We will
Oh,
also
okay.
we'll also do the same for those in Manila North Harbor, kasi ganyan din ang nangyari sa kanila. Their ships, no, their tawag nun,
Yeah.
flight kasi ng eroplano, yung kanilang biyahe, no,
Yeah.
were also suspended. That's why they find themselves in that situation.
Okay, I know that our armed forces, the DILG and the PNP, have the ability, rapid response ability. Hindi po ba pwedeng magpadala naman tayo ng mga tents and yung mga, alam mo na, mga shelters, mag-mobilize tayo? Kasi ang sama tingnan eh. Una, ang sama, it makes government look bad. And then, of course, it is inhumane to make people just lie down in the middle of the, of the concrete and the pavement na nabibilad sila. And wala namang pwedeng sisihin dito because yung mga LSI nagpuntahan doon, gustong makauwi, government is trying. 2 points, rapid deployment of tents and facilities. And also, I think the problem is in the back end of local governments. Kasi para bang naho-hostage yung airlines, naho-hostage yung mga LSI, naho-hostage yung gobyerno kasi lang walang mga sufficienting quarantine facilities doon sa mga LGUs na yon. So parang to me, and I'm sorry Usec, no, ako gusto ko lang makatulong, parang ang dali naman magtayo doon eh, bakit hindi na lang natin padalan, sir?
I'll relay that suggestion, sir, to the team. Actually, we've done that already for those Villamor, for those that were stranded, for example, in MRT3. Lumabas din ito sa balita. So we opened facilities in Villamor Air Base Elementary School and now in the Philippine Army Gym. So inaalagaan naman po namin. Kuminsan kasi nabibigla lang tayo dito sa mga sitwasyon na ito.
Yes, of course.
Yes, but definitely we will address their concern, and hopefully maayos na natin yung kanilang biyahe pa uwi, because I think to solve this problem really is to get them home. And
Yeah.
ang isa sa mga tinitingnan namin, Sir Cito, is para mawala yung agam-agam ng mga LGUs na sa pag-uwi ng mga ito, at para matanggap na nila kaagad-agad, is to have the PCR test done in the locality, in the province. Kasi may mga nangyari na kasi na when they were tested here in Manila, they were negative. Pero pagdating doon, somewhere along the way or when they got there, positive na. At nagagalit na ngayon yung LGU. No? Kasi zero COVID kami, mababa ang COVID namin, pinauwi nyo yung mga LSIs. So the health protocol that the IATF is currently working out is a PCR test at the destination. Kasi kung magawa po natin na gano'n ng sistema, wala ng LGU ang hindi papayag kasi these are his constituents. And it's now possible for us to do that because we now have some 68 laboratories nationwide. All regions already have their PCR laboratories. I think the last remaining region na wala pa tayo is Caraga. No? But
Alam mo,
all
Usec,
already have PCR laboratories functioning in their respective regions.
okay. Alam mo, Usec, sorry, you should stick around. Listen to my next interview with Mayor Alfred Romualdez. Kasi, alam mo, may ginawa siya doon kakaiba eh. Nakipag-tie up siya sa PhilHealth. Meron siya mga kinuwang hotel. I'll ask him to explain how he went about it. Pero he hit 2 birds with 1 stone. I actually wrote about it in my column na nakatipid na yung LGU, mabilis na meron silang quarantine facility pagkatapos na-secure pa nila yung health concerns na yan. But in any case, we'll get to talk to Mayor Alfred about that. But we just want to compliment you, the Secretary, the DILG, and pati na IATF. Alam naman po namin, Usec, na no normal human being, no normal Filipino wants all of these problems, complications, and headaches. We just all need to really start listening to each other, helping each other, and just trying to solve the problem. And we know you people in the DILG are doing your best. So we congratulate you, we compliment you, and wala nang awayan, wala nang batikusan, magtulungan po tayo. And God bless you, Usec. Thank you for giving us so much information this morning.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your support to the DILG. I will relay your greetings to Secretary Anyo.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya of the DILG. And ayan naman po, no, they are trying their best. But the problem in this situation is you come up with the solution, another problem comes up, you come up with the solution, then another problem comes up. And because this is all new, kanya nga tawag Nobel, na koronahan tayo, ang corona ng pahirap. Okay, let's go to our next guest. I wonder if he's there. Mayor Alfred Romualdez, are you there already?
Yes, good morning, Cito.
Okay, good morning, Mayor. Alam mo, nadinig mo siguro yung interview ko kay Usec Malaya. And apparently, this problem of sending people to the provinces, where to place these people, and then how to keep the COVID-19 cases down. I remember that in our conversation you mentioned you hit two birds with one stone. Paano bang ginawa mo?
First of all, let me give you a background, Cito. After Yolanda, I traveled to several countries, in fact, with the UN and other organizations to learn, how to, in fact, disaster management and your approach and what to do. And they always taught me there that, everything always try to hit so many birds with one stone. And anything you do, make sure that you don't have to go back and redo or correct what you've done, So because of the limited resources that we have. So alam mo, one of the things here is you go into a day-to-day basis. Like for example, I've been hearing so many things, even in the last few months, that, oh, tourism's gonna pick up, tourism eventually in a month or two. Look, let's be realistic about this. All the countries are affected. Nobody's traveling. So tourism's not gonna move forward. So we decided, and when I saw that there's so many facilities here, that there's so many hotels. Alam niyo, after Yolanda, they promised bank houses. How many months did that take? So tapos ng boxing, bago matapos lahat yan. So we looked at, I told the City Health Office, and together with DOH, we worked together, and we discovered that many of these hotels, talking to the owners, were willing to have them used by the government for quarantine areas. And when we saw that, we entered into a contract with them. Of course, we asked for a 50% discount para makatipid tayo. And we found out that we can have these facilities accredited sa PhilHealth, and PhilHealth will help in the expenses. But more so and more importantly is that we discovered that lalo na mga LSI, parang mga anak natin to na stranded ito for 2-3 months. Pagod sila. So they're also very vulnerable in catching, that virus. So what we discovered when we put them in hotels, number one, there's CCTVs there. We get to monitor them. There's no, hindi sila nagsasama-sama in any area, like any restaurant or anything like that. No food's given to them. We don't worry about beddings and anything like that. But most of all, which we always neglect, is actually it's air conditioned. They're able to rest. They have all the facilities, and more importantly, they have their own toilet, which is really crucial, for that spread. And nakita namin in less than 10 days, nagne-negative na sila. Because right away, they are able to recuperate in 2 to 3 days na lumalakas sila, nila. So, itong ginawa namin. And I was also anticipating, we prepared for the worst that kung dumagsa dito by the hundreds na, can we still accommodate them? And nakita namin, we partnered naman with the private sector, and we saw that they're not making money. Their hotels are closed. Instead of firing their people, sabi ko, pare, kahit konti na lang yung markup, pwede ba? Kunin na lang ng gobyerno to para ma-isolate namin. Because my goal here was really, I don't want to isolate those who are negative. Let's isolate those who are positive. And we worked with the PNP. I'm very happy, that mabilis ang response nila sa contact tracing. Every time may nagte-test ng positive, we make sure in a few minutes or within an hour or two, we pick them up, we stick them in a hotel, then we quarantine them. And nakita namin we had 54 cases and as of today, we're releasing about 40 to 45% of them already are going home. So, nare-release namin ng maaga kasi nakikita namin talagang bumabangon sila right away. They recover and there are many facilities available. And I suggest really that itong sinasabi ng mga tourist belt areas, I think we should start looking in partnering and make them quarantine areas because Sito, look, let's be practical. Hindi naman tumatagal to Pagka positive yan, within 2 weeks, matagal ng 2 weeks, lalo na pag asymptomatic, nagiging negative na yan And our people have to learn that what is viral load. Kung hindi naman mataas yung mga load nila, hindi naman kailangan sa ospital yan. I announced that 2 months ago not to crowd the hospitals because we will have a problem naman with others that are not COVID positive and they don't have access to medical health. 26 countries realized later on that, more people died non-COVID related because they were so focused with COVID-related problems. And I suggest many, even mga probinsya, dapat tignan nila yung mga resorts, mga hotels, partner sila sa private sector, matutulungan pa nila, doon nila ilagay, mas madali pa i-secure. In fact, the PNP is actually happier that way. It's easier for them to secure, to lock down a hotel while you have people there. And you can see in Manila, hindi nag-spread yan sa mga condominiums because they're doing that in condominiums in Malaya. So we have to adapt. We have to adapt to this situation and use government infrastructure for that. Meaning, this is something that I think, while we're doing all this and we see their best practices, we have to institutionalize it so it's easier for chief executives to move. And, things like this, lalo na itong mga virus na to, we have to act right away. We cannot, hindi tayo pwede ma-delay dyan Kasi pag kumalat yan, especially Tacloban City, we are such a small area, we're only 20,000. We're 1/4 the size of Ormoc, and yet our population is almost double and triple of Ormoc. So, we're very cautious. And I'm happy to say naman na hindi naman kami hotspot dito sa region. Other provinces were saying that hotspot. Kami, we average about 4 to 5 cases. And but we're prepared. Just in case dumami yan, talagang we have to do that. And I'm also willing to cross political boundaries. If there are other LGUs that need hotels and facilities, which HUCs have it, they should allow other LGUs to rent that facility and use it. So, tulungan na to At tutulungan din yung economy. Isa pa, gusto ko i-point out, kaya namin ginawa yan kasi ako kinakabahan ito sa LSI. Dapat kung suspend nila, not totally, they should just reduce the number and eventually come back up. Because if you talk to the airlines, even the airlines are suffering when you totally suspend that.
Yeah.
So I think they have to look at it carefully that like LGU, like Tacloban, and there's some LGUs that are willing to accept, then i-focus nila doon and tuloy-tuloy pa rin. Kahit bawasan, kahit sabihin natin, we start with 5 to 10% and move up, the ladder, as we go on, para hindi naman naiipit yung mga LSI dyan. Because if you look at it in the long run, the government is gonna spend more by having these people stranded there. Kawawa talaga sila So I think, we have to work with the DILG and cross political, boundaries here and, look at what are the resources of the entire region and focus on that. And then we have to focus now on isolating those who are positive, those who have symptoms, and let, this economy of ours start moving forward. Lalo na yan, projecting even opening of classes. How can we open it if we can't even deal with LSIs and then we're talking about all opening classes? So mahirapan tayo dyan. Kailangan may timeline na tayo dyan. Tapos wag nila tigilan yan kasi yung economy, takbo ng mga airlines, malaking bagay yon. And it's up to them really.
Yeah, now tungkol dito, so what you did is you didn't put your money in building quarantine facilities. You simply rented hotels, etc. Because they did the same thing here in Metro Manila, particularly in the city of Pasig. Nung unang pumutok itong pagkakasakit ng mga frontliners, yung mga nurses, yung mga doktor, pati itong legendaring biglang kaliwa dito sa amin sa Pasig, yung mga Motel Row ay biglang kinwarantin at ginamit na for frontliners. And I know because I travel extensively all over the Philippines with BMEG, I know that there is no town or province na walang mga motel. Ang dami-daming mga motel pero hindi natin naisip na gamitin yung mga motel na yan or yung mga hotel na maliliit as a quarantine area for LSIs and for people who may be under suspicion. So ikaw, nakatipid ka na sa hindi pagpapatayo ng quarantine. But what about this thing with PhilHealth? Kasi not many people understand that system.
Well, it depends, no? What happens there is that in a quarantine area facility, once you quarantine someone there, you get a certain amount. Pag nag-positive naman yan, pag dumating at positive, there's also a certain amount that's begged and given to them. And when we look at it, it's almost parang eksakto lang. Malaking tulong. It covers about 90% of all the expenses. So, yun ang nakikita namin. And nakakatipid kami also because hindi naman umaabot ng 2 weeks eh. Nakikita namin talaga na makaka-recover. Parang may hangover lang yung tao, kawawa naman eh, na stranded, natulog sa kalye, natulog sa ilalim ng tulay, ilang linggo yan, pagod na pagod yan. So he has to regain his strength, and we do that and we make him comfortable. So maraming hindi na namin iniisip kasi manpower din yan. Iisipin mo, quarantine facility, maglalagay ka ng toilet, maglalagay ka ng beddings, pati pagkain, lahat yan. Ang dami-dami pang gagawin dyan. I don't have enough manpower. And you have to remember that here in government, most of the people here are service-oriented. We're not really focused on, like, doon ako nahirapan sa Yolanda. Kailangan talaga i-seminar na sanay sa disaster. Kasi hindi naman kaya ng CDR yan eh. Yung sabihin natin, disaster management mo. Hindi nila kaya yan. So we have to really partner with the private sector. It involves them and they are stakeholders and whatever happens, kung hindi sila kumita, hindi rin kami makakolekta ng taxes. So we're really in the same boat. So we really have to partner with them and we have to focus. In fact, my experience, I get better data from the private sector than I do with the government.
So you're keeping jobs, you're keeping businesses afloat, your tax revenues somehow continue to flow, you're saving money from not having to build and operate quarantine facilities, and you are complying with the 2-week quarantine requirements for COVID-19 protocols.
Yes, and more importantly, our people are comfortable. And, we're giving them a facility that they will recover faster. Yun ang naging problema ko after Yolanda because they were giving bunk houses that were not even suitable for people to live in. And they were saying, galing naman yan sa mga informal settlers na yan. Bakit magre-reklamo pa sila? That's not the point. We've got to invest on our people. Kawawa naman sila, naghirap sila, nagtrabaho sila at lahat. Ngayon, babalik sila, palakasin na natin para less burden to the government and they can, rejoin society and we can move on already with this. But critical also here, baka sabihin natin, nga, negative kami, zero lahat, pero yung ekonomiya natin din, bagsak din. Anong gamit niyan, di ba? So tinitignan ko talaga itong paghahanap buhay ng tao, itong mga negosyante, the employers, we have to help them. And at the same time, we require the employer now that he has to provide PPEs to his employees. That's one executive order that I released here, especially restaurants, frontliners there that deal with customers. It's up to the employer to provide that to his employees. Stick to kami dyan.
Okay, well, that's about it. I just wanted to share that with all our viewers and hopefully with the DILG and all the IATF kasi malaking katipiran, maginhawa para sa mga LSI at mga kailangang i-quarantine. So thank you for sharing that novel idea, Mayor Alfred Romualdez. Please stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy, and God bless you.
Okay, thank you, Cito. God bless.
Okay, that's Mayor Alfred Romualdez of Tacloban City. Yan po, no? The idea is because in a rush, because of the situation, we all just started building. And we forgot, teka, ang dami nating hotel, ang dami nating mga motel. And you know, that is the China model. I'm sorry, you know, I want Philippines, but you know, that is the China model. When you arrive in China, they do the temperature, they do the swab test, and then after a few hours, pag okay ka na, yung rapid test, swab test yata yun, papasakayin ka na ng van from the airport, and then papauwiin ka, and you will be confined in a hotel. Meron pong ano yun, alarm. Pag binuksan mo yung pinto, nandoon na yung pulis. Meron kang bracelet. And basically, merong CCTV, yung pagkain sinisilbi sa harap. That's what the China model is. And that's what's happening in Tacloban. And that's what we can do nationwide. Pati na dyan sa Cebu. Ang dami-dami po ninyong bagong mga hotel dyan. Cebu City. You can do this, and our hearts are go out to the people of Cebu. We are praying for your quick recovery there, and for the numbers to go down, and for your adjustment to community quarantine to be a lot easier than we have experienced here. Okay, we'll go for a quick gap. We'll go for a break, and when we come back, we'll go to former DSWD Secretary Judy Taguiwalo, and we will ask her about her assessment here on Agenda. Okay, we're back here on Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran, and you are watching us via Signal TV, channels 8 and 250, as well as the Facebook platform of One News PH. Kung hindi pa kayo nagpapakabit ng signal, magpakabit na kayo from Luzon to Mindanao. Meron na pong signal. Okay, let's go to former DSWD Secretary Professor Judy Taguiwalo. She is currently the spokesperson of the Citizens Urgent Response to End COVID-19 or Cure COVID. Secretary Judy, good morning. Oops, nakamute po ang inyo.
Yeah.
Yun. Good morning, Ma'am Judy. Kamusta ka na?
I'm a senior citizen, so I'm still adjusting to this new mode of communication. I'm
Well,
used to face teaching. So, good
well,
morning,
that
Cito.
good morning. That makes the two of us. Okay.
So,
uh,
thank you for inviting me.
of course, your opinion is always valued, and at a time like this, we need all the perspectives, inputs, and information we can gather. Being a former DSWD secretary, you have long been in NGO work and currently a professor. But I have to confess, Ma'am Judy, this citizens' urgent response to end COVID or cure COVID, parang ngayon ko lang nadinig. Ano po ba ito and how did this come about?
Actually, it started on March 16 when grassroots organization banded together to provide relief to our communities. So the
Mm,
initial activities, and you can look it up on our Facebook page. The initial activities were providing relief to urban poor communities, so stranded drivers, to OFWs, and then even to indigenous communities.
mm,
Later on, by considering that the quarantine was being extended, a network was formed, and individuals from academe, from the medical profession, even lawyers, microbiologists, scientists came together to come up not only with providing relief but also coming up with policy responses. So mass testing was one of the immediate calls that we made. We have a weekly public briefing. You can look it up also. So far, we have had 14 public and media briefing on issues such as mass testing, alternative schooling, balik trabaho,
mhm. So
occupational safety.
essentially, your group has been responding to the government and to the country's response to COVID-19. Now, I read through your statement regarding your assessment on government's performance or handling of COVID-19. And your opening statement seems to sum it up. You basically said, failed to achieve the goal in ensuring public health. And then, of course, you continued reciting all of the problems that we've all been seeing. Now, I understand that criticism is necessary when mistakes are being done. Now, in this situation, is it fair to be critical given that we are fighting an unknown enemy? We are experiencing the same problems as all the other nations in the world are experiencing. Pasensya ka na, Ma'am Judy. I have to be balanced. I have to be the host here. So please go ahead and respond.
No problem, Sito. I understand. I think I still believe that in a democracy, all voices should be heard. And
Mm,
part of our role as a member of academe or as an NGO would be speaking truth to power. And even
okay.
President Duterte, if you look,
Okay.
are we still on?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
If we
Go ahead.
look into his speeches, he said, if we're not doing good things, criticize us. So by June 25, Cure COVID looked into the Bayanihan Act and reviewed its goal and objectives. And the main aim was supposed to address the public health emergency caused by COVID-19, which has the ultimate goal of protecting and promoting the welfare of the people. So we
Mm,
wanted that to succeed, but we cannot do that without looking at the data. And the
okay.
data so far has been we haven't controlled, mitigated, the pandemic. In fact, our numbers are rising. We have the fastest rising cases of coronavirus in the Western Pacific.
Mm,
And instead of controlling it in Metro Manila, it is now spreading into the provinces and even to the rural area. So how do you look at that? Or they will say, but our number is lower than the United States or the Europe, but that's not the point. We can also compare it with Vietnam or
Mhm.
with Thailand, which have been able to control the spread of the virus. So that's our main measure evaluation. How we've been able to control it. The numbers say no. No?
Okay.
And
Allow
what
me.
one of the reason was we started late.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
No, no. Go ahead. So I thought you were finished. So now, first reason you said we started late. So that was mistake number one. Okay.
We didn't do mass testing until now. We
Mm-hmm.
started late. We became complacent that there was no community transmission. I think at the start when we only had 3 cases, we felt that it was important. And even the president was saying, we can do domestic tourism. We
Mm.
started late, January, February. We started the quarantine March 16. And
Mm.
even during the quarantine, so far we have been 3 months of lockdown. I have barely gone out of this house,
Mm.
because I'm 70 years old. Stay home has been the call. But
Mm.
even then, during the lockdown, mass testing was not really implemented. Until
Mm.
now, the average test we have done so far is 14,000 per day. When the
Yeah.
government said by the end of May, we should be able to do 30,000 testing. So that's a major health shortcoming.
Mm. Okay.
Two, as you can see, I used to be DSWD secretary, and I know um, how industrious, how hardworking our social workers are. But
Yeah.
the SAP, the
Yeah.
social
Social
amelioration program,
amelioration.
also started late. The initial guidelines came out April 6 or almost a month. Yeah, that's up. And then the guidelines were changed because these guidelines were not rooted on consultations with local government units. So we
Mm-hmm.
have that SAP. Three, so many um, so many steps taken were actually control rather than information dissemination. So the
Mm.
lockdown, the shutting down of a major, I'm sorry, station, which could have been the source of information, contributed to that. People,
Mm.
I believe that people would follow if they understand fully what it means to stay at home if they're provided with enough provision. So
Mm.
instead of doing that, we always call on pasaway, pasaway, pasaway. So the steps have been suppression rather than information dissemination and people's participation.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, Sito, that's
Okay.
our part. Okay.
No, no, here's
No,
my
there are
point.
others.
Okay.
So
I-
may you go back to the objectives, you go back to the bayanihan, and we have said before, the goal would be mitigate and contain the transmission of COVID-19, X,
Mm.
okay?
Mm.
Second goal, provide adequate assistance to those affected by the enhanced community quarantine, especially the poor. Partial check because, you have just, but it's only 5,000 to 8,000 pesos for
Mm.
3 months. And
Mm.
at the initial stages, it would be the local government units providing the foods.
Mm.
Prevent the overburdening of the country's healthcare system, came too little, too slow, and too urban-centric. Definitely, the quarantine area set up later in the day already. And then now we're seeing the overburdening of the health facilities in Cebu. And
Mm.
they're asking the doctor to the barrios to leave underserved communities to go to private hospitals. Is that part of the preparation?
Mhm.
There were ample immediate health care, including medical tests and treatments to COVID-19 patients and suspected cases. That's another goal. I've said that, they haven't reached the 30,000 targets.
Yeah.
Recovery, rehabilitation, social amelioration program has been too little, too slow, and too politicized.
Mhm.
And then funds, definitely, we've seen 355.7 billion pesos as reported by DBM. That's the report. But what is the breakdown? The SAP spending is reported to be 153.9 billion. So where did the balance of 201.8 billion go? And now we're borrowing money. So we're already deep in debt.
Mhm.
And partnership with the private sector. We want that. As you said, this is a pandemic. All hands on deck, is a requirement. But at the initial stage, the DSWD wanted to control the solicitation of donations by individuals and groups um, trying to help affected communities.
Mm.
So I think the final assessment of cure COVID, and just one of the two spokespersons, the other one is a medical doctor. We said addressing the public health emergency caused by COVID-19 with the ultimate goal of protecting and promoting the welfare of the people cannot be done if a militaristic approach is adopted through reliance on retired generals, police, and military presence and lockdowns. A public health emergency should be addressed by adopting a public health approach, combining medical steps, mass testing, isolation, treatment, contact tracing, with people's participation, transparency in policies and programs, and ultimately, accountability of those who have the power and the resources to address the pandemic. Until now, we're still waiting for the actual breakdown of the funds used for the COVID-19.
Okay, now, Ma'am
So
Judy,
that's it, Cito, so
if
far.
if we're going to put everything together, and I ask you, uh, what's the problem? Is it because it is an exclusive leadership approach, or failure, or should they adopt a more inclusive leadership approach? Kasi parang nakikita ko sa mga lahat ng na-interview ko, ang sinasabi, sila lang lagi naman ang nagpapatakbo, kami hindi na natatanong.
Well, and most of the time, that statement comes from local government officials. Imagine the LGUs really carry the burden of the response, from
Mhm.
providing the immediate assistance to contact tracing to ensuring that the spread is controlled. You've seen Marikina, you're lucky you're in Pasig. We've
Mhm.
seen very positive examples of how local government units respond to the pandemic. But instead of being encouraged, in many instances, they are called to task, as what happened to the Marikina Testing Center. Took a
Mhm.
while for DOH to approve it, as what happened to the efforts of Pasig to ensure public transport for its citizens.
Mhm.
So that's one. It's very difficult to top
Okay.
down. The
Yeah.
military are on top. The approach rather participatory. This is a community transmission. The community has to be involved. If you don't involve the local government officials who are elected, how else can you involve the non-government organizations who are more than willing to help in mitigating the pandemic?
Mhm. Okay, now you basically said, okay, these are their failures. What are your recommendations, or what can you submit as solutions?
First, come out with a report of the breakdown of the COVID-19 response. Where did all the money go? The report has been so much money, from the DBM. We haven't seen the breakdown. How much did actually go to the health aspect? Hiring of new doctors, setting up of new quarantine areas, mass testing, etc.
Mhm.
Two would be assessing why lockdowns have been very militaristic. Why have we not been able to combine the initial community quarantine with the health requirements of testing, treatment, isolation treatment, and contact tracing. We haven't done that extensively so far.
Mhm.
Three would be stop arresting people, Yesterday, they arrested over 100 people who went to this resto bar in Makati and brought them
Mhm.
to the police station. You're going to spread again the pandemic. At the very least, we could have lectured them on, the health issues they created by doing that. But immediately the response has been very militaristic. Let's
Mm.
pick you up, And that has been happening in many cases when the
But
police thinks you are violating the quarantine measures. And that's not,
yeah,
there is no law. At the minimum, they
Secretary,
should be lectured.
oh, pasensya ka
Yes.
na, Ma'am Judy, no? You have stayed home. I
Mm.
have stayed home. In fact, USEC Jonathan Malaya was surprised na I have stayed home except to go to buy things from the store. Hindi talaga ako lumalabas. And because
But you
media
had a good haircut.
GCQ, no? But
Mm.
in any case, what I'm saying is, I've
Okay.
stayed home, you stayed home. Parang hindi, I have a bone to pick with those people kasi parang we're all making sacrifices and they're all going to bars, they're all getting in their cars, going to places outside of Metro Manila. And they even put it on Facebook. And parang sabi ko nga kanina kay Yusek John, along your lines, I agree. Sige, wag na natin silang ikulong. Pero perwisyohin natin. Kung pumunta sa Tagaytay, for instance, hayaan mo muna dun sa tabi, sige, parada ka dyan, hindi ka makakapasok, dyan ka lang, sayangin namin yung araw mo, tapos pauwiin ka namin. Para pag uwi nyo, mag-away na kayo ng asawa mo dahil ang kulit-kulit mo lumabas ng Metro Manila. Di ba? But I mean, it's like fair is fair. We're supposed to be under community quarantine. And pasaway pa rin yung ibang mga
Yeah.
kababayan natin eh. What do you have to say about that, Ma'am Judy?
I think again, quarantine, home arrest, which I call home arrest,
Mm.
depends on your particular situation. For you and for me, I have a daughter who is, above 20, below 60. She calls herself my tribute, my ally, which means she
Mm.
does the grocery for me. I don't have to
Mm.
go out. There are a lot of allies for senior citizens like us. And we
Yeah.
still have some money to spend, okay? But for
Mm.
urban poor communities, going out is a necessity because they have to find work. They don't want to depend on government's assistance, which is just one time, two time, and too little. So you can
Mm.
understand now they're having, if you've gone, I think I've gone out once to fix something. And then I've seen urban poor communities with people selling barbecue on the side. They're all wearing face masks. So we
Oh.
have to understand that people have to go out. They have to take the minimum safety precautions. Now, for the people of Makati, I think bringing them to the police station is counterproductive. If we're going to control
Mm.
COVID, don't bring to people to crowded places, but they have to understand that they have done something wrong. But it is not a criminal act per se. So the measure should be commensurate to that community service, etc. But it's always the police, doing the arresting, and now they're also warning their lawyers, the lawyers of the Makati people, you're obstructing justice. We don't want that kind of response. These
Mhm.
people, many of us are, what do they call it? Caution fatigue, quarantine fatigue already. But,
Mm.
we have to look for various ways of disciplining, or
Yeah.
telling people you cannot do that, but not just pasaway, because again, the double justice is there. Look, you know, Silas has not been disciplined. None of the congressmen or the senators or the police generals have been disciplined for violating quarantine rules, but it's so easy for
Definitely.
them to arrest, So you have the
Mm.
double justice under this system. So
Mm.
again, the issue would be do not use military or police solutions to address violations which are not criminal but
Mhm.
can be attributed to partly for the many urban poor communities that need to find a way to survive, and for the Makati crowd, the need to socialize.
Mhm.
So you
Okay.
have to make the I think Pasig is doing well in in this case, Your mayor has
Mababait
been able to
mababait kami
combine.
mababait kami,
Hindi,
magaling yung
hindi.
mayor namin.
Pinarahan niya rin yung isang bake shop dyan. No. He also, disciplined the bake shop, which he found that the workers were not using the face mask. So your
Mm,
mayor combines both, and understanding the actual situation, but the controls not, putting them to jail, but locking down that bake shop for a while. That's a good
mhm,
combination. I think we have to learn so much from very good local government officials. And that's not only Vico. I think,
mm.
Marikina is also a good one.
Yeah. Well, in any case, Ma'am Judy, thank you for your assessment, and I'm sure naman dinig kayo ng mga nanonood sa programa natin, lalo na sa gobyerno, and I hope that they would take it into consideration, because I think more than anything, the two big things that people are watching for and will be watching for is yung una, sinabi mong, where is the money? There must be a transparent reporting of the expenses and accounting. Plus also the rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Eh kung palalampasin mo yung general, palalampasin mo yung senador, congressman, pero ikukulong mo yung 70 years old na jeepney driver at pagpapiansahin, foul is foul. And we agree with you on that. The punishment must be commensurate to the offense. Kanya lang, kung nagpa-party, dapat
Violations.
siguro pagwalisin dun sa kalsada yung mga tinamaan na yan. Isa dun, kaibigan ko pa, Ma'am Judy. So, uh, short of saying, bebuti nga. Pare-pareho na lang tayo hirap. Thank you very much, Ma'am Judy.
Ah,
Okay, that's
Maraming salamat din, Sito. Thank you.
okay. God bless, and please stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy. That's former DSWD Secretary Judy Taguiwalo, and ayun po, no. I think the lesson to be learned here is, if we are going to set down rules, we must be willing to follow the rules. We must be willing to pay the price for any offense, and we must be willing to punish all people who break the rules, regardless of whether kakampi o kaaway. You have to do it equally, and dyan na po nag-umpisa yung mga problema na yan, because at the end of the day, when you make exemptions, people expect exceptions. And that's what's happening. Now, doon po sa mga nahuli dyan sa Makati, I know that, you're suffering from quarantine fatigue. I think we all are. And it's not not a pleasant experience, but there is a passage. There are certain passages in the Bible that refers to stumbling block. Kumbaga kayo yung nakakapatid sa iba. Like when you go out of town, knowing that we are under quarantine, and you go and take pictures of yourself in the scenic place, or share about what food you're eating out of town, did it ever occur to you that maybe you should just enjoy it? If you want to sin, go ahead and sin in private. Yeah, and I refer to it as sin because it's sinful. Sarap ng pagkain mo, kumakain ka ng steak, kumakain ka ng bulalo. Pagkatapos ipopost mo pa, inggitin mo pa kami. Well, please don't do that. If you must sin, sin in private. Don't be a stumbling block to us and say, because we all end up going, ay, pwede pala pwede naman palang pumunta you're tempting us to do what you're doing, and paano naman kung may maaksidente? Paano kung mahuli? And paano kung may ma-infect? And then biglang inuwi namin sa bahay yung sakit na yan kasi may nakuha namin sa isang waiter. Now, regarding that thing in the bar, that's what happened in Korea. They opened up, they relaxed, and what happened? One guy infected 21 people in one night. He went from bar to bar. I think he went to 3 bars and infected 21 people. And immediately South Korea had to lock down again. And what happens is the consequence of one person hurts a community, if not a country. And here, I don't want to be preachy, but don't be a stumbling block. Don't cause other people to fall and then and suffer because you wanted to do something. You know fully well we're under community quarantine. Be responsible. If you can't be responsible, just keep it to yourself. Don't share it on Facebook. Don't brag about it. In any case, let's go to our next guest. And I don't know if some people want me to interview this guy because it might open a can of worms. Our next guest is Undersecretary of the Department of Labor, and he is currently Undersecretary for Labor Relations, Social Protection, and Policy Support. We have with us Usec Benjo Benavidez. Usec Benavidez, good morning.
Hi, Sir Cito, and to your viewers, good morning. Sa ating
Okay.
mga kababayan, magandang umaga sa ating lahat.
Yeah, Usec Benjo, malaman ko lang, no? Kasi may nabasa akong artikulo, sinasabi, I don't know if it was you or your spokesperson, referring to this cost sharing of expenses for people who are working from home. Kasi sabi nung, pasensya ka na, alam mo, pag senior citizen ganito medyo erratic na rin, parang internet, no? Erratic yung memory. But it basically said that there is a move or study in the DOLE to consider the possibility of employers paying for the additional cost of working from home with employees.
Yeah, that's true, Sir Cito. Maybe actually you're working from home now. I understand that the last time I had an interview with you, we were in the studio.
Yeah.
But this time we are making use of the telecommuting program. That's the work from home arrangement. Let me just preface my response to that by sharing with you that last year, the department issued the implementing rules and regulation of a Republic Act. That's Republic Act 11165. That law enables industries, employers to implement work from home arrangement. And in that law, as well as department order, there is a need to have a policy or agreement between the employee and the employer as to how they will adopt and implement the program. And one of the terms and condition is as to costing, the cost and the use of equipment. So there must be a mechanism how to approximate the cost. Kasi hindi na the cost that the employer should be paying is the same cost that they have been paying as operational cost. Nililipat lang po kasi natin, Sir Cito, yung lugar ng trabaho. Even if we are working at the corners of our offices, employers would have to pay the cost. And if we transfer that same workplace, let's say in the comfort of our homes, mayroon pa rin po dapat na cost. And that's where the mechanism for approximation of the cost and usage of equipment. Kasi naman po, it is also unfair for the employer to pay all the cost of electricity, internet, kung yung ibang miyembro ng pamilya ng isang empleyado ay gumagamit ng ganong utility. So now, let me clarify that the cost for work from home should be paid by the employer, because this is the same cost that the company would have incurred should they require these employees to be reporting to their offices.
Okay. Now, how do you go about that? Kasi please don't use me as an example because first of all, I am fortunate to be blessed, and I would encourage our viewers to consider that if you have the chance to work from home right now, consider yourself blessed by the Lord, blessed by God, because you have a job, unlike millions of others who don't have a job. Now, I've also believed that we should also equally invest in our work. I've invested, I bought a camera, I bought a nice microphone and all these lights. But syempre, may mga tao naman na, Kuyang, tatlong anak ko pinapaaral ko, ano ko, tapos kailangan kong gumastos for better internet. Yung mga teachers, they need to buy laptops, etc., lalo na yung sa or you know, private sector. Paano yun? How are you guys going to formulate the cost sharing?
Well, it has to be a product of an agreement between the employer and employee. You must consider the usual cost, the operational cost of the employee, kung sila po talaga ay nagre-report sa kanilang mga opisina. So that may be the benchmark in setting the cost sharing when it comes to internet costs as well as electricity.
So, meron na ba kayong science dyan? Kasi sa ibang
Well,
bansa...
there is no specific mathematical computation.
Oh.
Because if we do that, we may be offending the agreement or some terms and conditions that have already been in place and implemented by companies. Kasi sir, long before this pandemic, marami na pong mga kumpanya ang implementing under telecommuting work arrangement.
Paano
And
nila
in those-
ginagawa yun, Benjo? How do they work it out? Kasi syempre, ayaw naman natin nag-aaway o nagkakapaan
Yes, sir.
yung mga tao, no? Give us some examples, please.
Well, for example, if the cost of internet is in the amount of, di ba sa pamilya po meron po tayong usually may internet connection tayo amounting to 3,000 pesos.
Oh.
But because of the increased need for internet use, kailangan po natin magdagdag ng bandwidth because of the work. So
Yeah.
that increase in cost should be paid by the employer. Because that is to us the operational cost.
Okay.
That is the added cost to the billing, to the home, to the household billing of the employer.
So,
Ganun lang naman po yun.
okay, so kunyari, kasi common naman yan, ano? Marami sa atin, 999 o 1,500 plan. Eh dahil nagkaroon ng work from home, marami sa atin pumunta sa 3,300 kasi
Yes.
kailangan ng bandwidth. Yung
Yes.
karagdagan, papakita mo na lang, bale, boss,
Yes,
ito
that's
yung
the proof.
aking, ito yung proof of billing ko for
Yes.
1 year before COVID, and ito yung proof of billing ko when I started doing work from home. So,
Yes, that
pakibayaran
is
ka na.
that is essentially the operational cost of the company. For those employees who have been under work from home arrangement.
Okay. Now,
Ganun lang po, sir.
okay, in terms of, meron bang addition to, well, yung bandwidth, madali yun, yung internet, madali. Paano yung kuryente? Kasi
You can
may
also
mga,
approximate. Yeah.
May
Well,
mga
there may be, yes, there may be difficulty in approximating the cost for the utility for electric utility.
Oo.
Pero mapag-uusapan po 'yan.
kumbaga, parang, boss, bahala ka na, dagdagan mo na lang.
Yeah.
Kasi,
Because we have yet to see how long workers are required to work in their home. Meron po dyan 4 hours lang, meron po dyan 8 hours, or some of them even extend to more than 8 hours on extended work hours. So, mas mahaba po yung konsumo sa kuryente as well as internet.
Yeah, in fact, Benjo, I've been picking up, and I don't know, kayo ba sa DOLE meron na kayong ginagawang study? Because apparently, a lot of people thought it was going to be a walk in the park. Oh, masarap mag-work from home. I have now spoken to a number of executives, and they said, Cito, I hate the day we discovered work from home. I said, why? Cito, I'm constantly getting emails 24/7, etc., etc. Paano na yun? Parang di ba, beyond the required 8 hours of work?
Well, actually, sir, the standard applicable to workers
Mm.
reporting to the offices and plants are the same standard that we apply for workers under a
Oh.
telecommuting work arrangement. So yung normal hours of work po nila, 8 oras pa din. Kahit po sila
Oh.
nagtatrabaho sa kanilang mga bahay. If they are required to work in excess of 8 hours, the applicable standard for overtime pay applies. Ganun pa rin po. Now, going back to the study that you mentioned, the law
Yeah.
actually requires the department to come up with a pilot implementation program. We are braced to have that this year, but the pandemic strikes. So hindi
Okay.
po namin actually the law merely provides for telecommuting work arrangement as an alternative. But because of the pandemic, this has become the norm. Parang lahat na nag-migrate po dun sa work from home arrangement. Now
Okay.
we are after the lockdown, we will be pursuing that study. We were supposed to have that early March. We already had plans and contacts with the industries and sector who have been implementing telecommuting work arrangement. But then again, because of the pandemic, we need to postpone that study.
Alam mo, Benjo, kanina I said, no, Usec Benjo, na we should be thankful to God for giving us jobs, that we have salaries, etc. But there are some wicked people out there who are opportunists also. Yung, kumbaga, hindi, work from home naman kayo, so bawasan ko ang sweldo nyo. Hindi, kalahati na lang kasi wala naman kayo, hindi na kayo nagbibihis, hindi na kayo nagko-commute, hindi na kayo kumakain. What is the position of the Department of Labor regarding employers like this, na who are using this change, this work from home situation as a tactic for cutting salaries?
Well, there has to be a mechanism at the plant level to resolve this issue. And should that grievance is unresolved, ano po, they should come to the department. Then it will be the DOL who will enforce standards. These are standards. Whether you are working in the normal place of work, in your offices, or in your residences, parehas po yung labor standards that we implement.
Okay, now yung mga sa retrenchment, paano? Kasi alam mo, nangyari, I actually went through something like this many years ago. I was telling my boss, any chance that I can, transition from being out on the field to doing some office work, kasi gusto ko rin na ma-improve ang buhay ko. And ang ginawa, sinalpak na lang ako sa harap ng computer na walang training, hindi pa nga ako nakahawak ng computer all my life. Para bang, they put you in a situation where you really can't function. Now, what about people who can't work? Who, like Secretary Judy Taguiwalo was saying, we're both senior citizens, we're adjusting to technology. There are people who are not technically savvy. What do they do if their employer says, sorry, you have to work from home? Sasabihin naman nila, sorry, hindi naman ako marunong mag-computer o mag-accounting, for instance.
Well, there should be no displacement or dismissal by the mere reason that the employee is unable to do the task at their homes. Hindi po, that's not a ground for termination. But maybe the company or the employer should provide training modules or facility for these workers for them to acquire the needed skills for them to perform the task anywhere else other than the traditional workplaces. But let me point out, Sir Cito, that this should never be a reason for companies to displace or retrench workers. There are proper grounds, there are proper authorized causes that would justify termination. And this is not one of these causes.
Alam mo,
causes.
Yusek, kasi bigla ko na-realize, no, yun, parang technically unqualified ka to do something. Eh, paano yung, sandali lang, sir, wala talagang signal dun sa lugar namin, eh. Hindi ko kasalanan yun, hindi naman
Tama po
nag-invest.
yun.
Paano
And
na
and
yun?
and, and to us, that does not merit termination. What
Aha.
you can do is to adjust and then just allow the employee to go to work. If the employee is not able to go to work, that should
Hmm.
not be a case of displacement or termination.
Okay. So pwede ba yung boss ganito na lang kasi ang trabaho ko naman sa inyo driver bodyguard. Pwede ba pahinga na lang muna ako pero wag mo ko i-terminate kasi
Yeah,
syempre yung iba gusto nila yung SSS, yung pag-ibig, yung PhilHealth. Eh pag terminate ka nga naman, tapos-tapos ka.
tama po 'yon. Well, that is a recognized arrangement, especially this time of pandemic,
Hmm.
where some of our workers, a quarter of our workers, are allowed to be temporarily laid off. But during those time, hindi po wala pong termination of employment.
Mhm.
Once normalcy comes in, balik po sila sa trabaho.
All right. Okay, Yusek Benjo, thank you very much for joining us today. And please stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy. And pag medyo may mga pagbabago dyan sa work from home sa policy na yan, pakisabihan lang kami kasi we really want to broadcast it all over the country. Thank you very much.
Yes, we will do, Sir Cito. Thank you and magandang umaga po sa atin lahat.
Okay, and that's the Usec Benjo of Dole. And at this point, medyo please allow me just to express a few things if you would. First of all, yesterday I wrote in my column in the Philippine Star, I wrote about companies. There are certain companies who they receive supplies, they get deliveries from truckers, and then they will tell the supplier or the trucker, oh, balikan mo yung bayad mo 30 days. Alam mo naman tayo, terms natin 30 days after delivery. Oh, 60 days o kaya 90 days. And some 120 at may mga walang yapo up to 180 days. I'm appealing to you, please consider several things. We are in a very bad situation economically, and every peso counts, every payment matters, and there are small mom and pop operations who depend on these funds critically. Tapos sasabihin nyo, 60 days, 90 days, kasi ganyan na yung naging kaugalian. First of all, let me point out to you, as a Christian, I don't know what your religion are, what your beliefs are, but if you go study the Bible, there are many verses in the Bible that say it is wicked to withhold what is due a person. Kumbaga sa sweldo, huwag mong palulubugin yung araw. Huwag mong palalampasin ng isang gabi bago mo ibigay yung sweldo ng isang tao. Hindi po yon makatao at hindi makajus yun at mapaparusahan tayo. We are all wondering, oh, my business is so slow, my business is so hard. Why would God bless your business if your profit and your ability to grow is based on your acts of withholding the money due your supplier and your trucker? That is not how it should be. Do not withhold, do not deprive payment for goods and services already delivered. Just because some smart ass thought of this scheme, oh, I will delay payment, I will withhold payment, does not make it a good or sound business policy. It's wicked. It's not godly, and you will be punished for it. Believe me, I have seen enough businessmen, I have known enough businessmen who have gone through this experience. You know, they don't pay tithes, they cheat, and then they withhold uh, payments, they don't prosper. And I'm just appealing to all of you, magtulungan po tayo, magkaroon kayo ng konsiderasyon. Na-deliver na sa inyo, nabayaran na kayo, ibigay nyo naman yung kabayaran dun sa mga tumulong sa inyo. And last but not the least, I just want to leave you with this verse from the Bible. Let us not grow weary of doing good, for at the proper time, we will we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Wag po tayong bibigay, wag tayong susuko. Tulong lang tayo ng tulong kasi hindi tulog ang Diyos. That's from Galatians 6:9. And in case you're wondering why I am leaving you biblical verses at the end or at the beginning of the show, we need it. Folks. We really need the word of the Lord kasi during this time of pandemic, we need hope. We have to listen to the bad news, the good news, but we also have to listen to the best news about God and from the Bible. Thank you very much. That's all for today. And please continue to share Agenda on Facebook. And we hope that you will stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy. God bless all of you.